Hi, everybody. I'm Jessica Comfer, and I've been placed with Therapeutic Alliance this year, as you know, which is a private in home counseling agency. Today, I'm going to be discussing a client that I'm going to refer to as A. Um, a is a 26-year-old female. She's African American, and she currently has a diagnosis of autism. Um, a was not given the diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder until she was a senior in high school. Prior to this, she was diagnosed with an auditory processing disorder. So throughout her schooling, she was a student in special education, but she was not receiving all of the benefits that she would have had she had the autism diagnosis. For example, and I've learned a lot through working with her. Um, she is on a waiting list and has been on a waiting list for about 7 years for a DD waiver, which is a developmental disability support waiver. And the reason that she's been on a waiting list so long is that she was not diagnosed with ASD until she was 17, 18 years old. And so a lot of times when kids are diagnosed with this early on, by the time they come of age, they are eligible because they've been on the waiting list for long enough. But anyway, so basically, because she does not have this, she does not receive as much support. Like, she's not able to attend a day program that would be free to her. Basically, mom would have to privately pay for her to attend day programs. So, with the waiver, it could just help with further supportive programs. Um, my program that we're working with is paid for through Medicaid. So she does have Medicaid, and because of her autism, she's able to receive services through Medicaid. She also receives services at the CSB separate from us, but we go to her appointments and also meet with the psychiatrist and the therapist at the CSB. So we have a good working relationship with them. I do obviously work with another social worker on this case, and then my supervisor oversees this case. Um, and so between her or my co-counselor and I, we see her up to 10 hours a week. So she's approved for 10 hours a week from my agency. Um, as far as family history, actually, I apologize. The program that she's in our agency is our mental health skill building service program. We call it MHSS for short. And this program specifically provides mental health services for adults in the community over the age of 18 with emotional, behavioral, and psychiatric disorders, which result in significant functional impairments in normal day to day life activities. So I'm going to go into more detail about what we're specifically working on with in a little bit. But that's the program that she's in. And like I said, through Medicaid, she receives those services. All right. So family history. As I said, she's a 26-year-old African American female. She was actually adopted as a baby, and her adoptive mother is her biological great aunt. So there is a significant age difference. Her mom is in her late 60s, and she's raised her since she was a baby. It's always been just her. She's remained single throughout this time. Um, a does not see her biological dad often, but she does see him every once in a while at family functions. I do not know if she realizes that that's her dad or if that's ever been explained to her, but I've never had a conversation in regards to that with her. For social history, she graduated high school. She didn't attend any college. She really has no friends. She has no family members that she sees on a regular basis outside of her mom. Um, as I said, she sees my co-counselor and me on a daily basis. She enjoys going for walks, going to the library, going to McDonald's. She does not have a good relationship with mom. She does not talk to mom. She often has most of her behavioral uh, behaviors towards mom. And so there's definitely, a big issue going on there. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that mom works full time, and mom actually works in DC commuting from Woodbridge. And so mom is not home much at all. So mom leaves by, 7 in the morning each day and isn't getting home until 6. She makes lunch for A every day, usually is a ham sandwich, maybe some fruit. And then obviously A is alone all day. Mom is extremely controlling. She does not allow her to watch TV while she's gone. She unhooks the electricity in the kitchen so that she's not able to use the stove, so she's not able to use the TV, which is actually in the kitchen. And so basically, all A does is sit on her couch in the same exact spot and leaf through magazines the whole entire day. She doesn't do anything else. She has recently began leaving the house and going on walks to the library, which is very close to her house, which at first we were a little concerned about, but then it's like, well, she's allowed to stay home by herself every day. So as long as she's locking the door and taking safety precautions on the walk to the library, then she should be able to do that. So I actually am supportive of her going to the library, but I know it's something that mom is not happy with just because she's not able to control it. And basically, A just won't listen and she'll leave and go for a walk. All right. So as far as the mental status examination, I just did like an overall. Her appearance, her pants are inside out on a regular basis. She always is dressed when she comes to the door. She always has pants and a shirt on. But like I said, a lot of times her clothes are mismatched. Her pants might be inside out. She's not wearing undergarments. She actually is incontinent, which I personally believe is a behavior because she has regressed since she was in high school. And this is obviously something that is more recent. So I do believe it is a behavior, but the reason is she's supposed to be wearing disposable underwear because of the incontinency, but she's often not wearing those, so she'll put her pants on without having any underwear or without having the disposable underwear on. Her appearance, she's usually wearing makeup, which is poorly put on. She often has like blotches on her face that are not blended in appropriately. She really likes makeup, but at times it's just not, it doesn't look right at all. Um, Her attitude, she's not easily engaged. She sometimes takes forever to answer the door for the counselor to enter the home. She's taken up to probably 25 minutes to answer the door in the past, depending on which counselor is coming to the door. She definitely seems to prefer some more than others. Her behavior, she does not follow through with tasks, lack of eye contact. Mood affect, she's very flat. She often does not make eye contact and she stares blankly ahead. Um, she would often say that she's bored or sad on a regular basis. Um, so she literally, the first time I met her and was talking with her mom, I was trying to engage with her, and she literally sat at the couch in her favorite spot and stared blankly ahead the whole time I was there and the whole time I was trying to engage her. She never made eye contact with me. I blocked her field of vision to try to get her to look at me, and it was like she was looking straight through me. She often does this weird eye twitching, and I've asked her mom, as my agency has, for her to bring her to a neurologist to see if something's going on or to see if this is a side effect from one of the medications she's on. And as far as I know, mom still has not followed through with this. She very recently just brought her to a family practice doctor, and for the longest time, she wasn't receiving any kind of, medical care at all. Um, Her speech when she talks, she speaks at an appropriate tone. And when she's engaged, she's quite appropriate, but it's just getting her to that point where she's able to engage and she's interested in what you're talking about. Um, Thought content, she does state that she hears voices. She has names for the people that she hears in her head. She says that they tell her, what to do sometimes. And she often just will, like if we were at the library, for instance, she'll often just like start talking to herself. And when I stop her and ask her who she's talking to, she'll say the name of one of the voices. This is something that the psychiatrist at the CSB is aware of. She is on medication, and I do not know the names of her medication for this, but if I recall, I was told by the therapist there that she is receiving medication similar to what individuals with schizophrenia are on. So I am not sure if they technically has her as a diagnosis of schizophrenia, but as far as my agency goes, we only have the autism diagnosis documented. Um, Target outcomes. So the goals that we're currently working on within the MHSS program with her, um, this is very brief, but it's a whole treatment plan, but I'm just going to touch on these. But it's socialization in the community, personal hygiene, and independent living skills. So basically, we want her to be able to function inside the home and outside the home. Simple things like brushing her teeth, putting her clothes on, making her bed, picking up after herself, um, feminine hygiene, um, independent living skills, doing her own laundry, making herself a meal, being able to have things to do in the home. In the community for socialization, so this would be things like going to the library and being able to communicate with the librarian, going out and being able to order for herself. So just having those independent socialization skills. Um, we've been at the library before, and someone will go up to her and ask her a question, whether it's in regards to how long she's going to be on the computer or something like that. And she literally will just stare blankly ahead and completely ignore whoever talks to her. So she wouldn't necessarily do that to me out in the community, but she just really struggles with interacting with anybody. She has regressed so much, according to mom, since she was in high school. And I believe it's due to lack of socialization. She has been stuck inside this house with no activities going on during the day, no kind of social interaction. She doesn't talk to her mom. If her mom talks to her, she gets angry and doesn't want to talk to her mom, and sometimes has physical altercations towards her mom. And so she just has had no stimulation, and she has regressed. She started, using the bathroom. She refuses to wipe herself after going to the bathroom. She gets physical towards mom. She has gained a tremendous amount of weight. She eats very unhealthy. Um, Mom even limits the amount of water she drinks. It's really, she's so controlling. I think mom needs to be our client, but I'm not supposed to say that. So going into the significant issues, some of these I've already mentioned. I apologize. The biggest for me is her mom not treating her like an adult, not letting her watch TV when she is at home alone, not being given money to be able to do something independently with us in the community. So basically, the in-home work, we're allowed to bring her out in the community and practice those social skills out in the community by going and getting something from McDonald's, going to the store and buying something. And if we ever want to bring her anywhere, we basically have to ask for mom's permission because A doesn't have any of her own money. And a lot of the times her mom will say no because of her recent behavior. And it's like, well, this isn't a reward. This is to practice life skills. And so it's just been really difficult with mom. According to her therapist at the CSB, who we do have a relationship with, mom receives about $1,200 a month for A, through disability. And so A is getting money, but mom just is not letting her even have, $10 a week for herself to spend. So she's 100% treated like a child. Um, Mom states that obviously she uses this food for food and living costs. Other things, A appears to be having side effects from her medicine. According to her mom, the not being as cleanly in regards to cleaning herself up after she uses the bathroom is a newer behavior that happened after a recent medication switch. So this is something that worries me. I'm also worried about her not always being responsive, having the eye twitches, and have the spells of dazing off. Um, behavior towards mom, the peeing on the floor, the physical altercations, not engaging with mom at all. It's just not a healthy environment. Um, Obviously, the fact that she's home alone all day from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. without no social interaction except for the counselors coming into her home. Um, the inability to communicate effectively with clinician. She does not respond often to open-ended questions. It's really hard to get her engaged unless there's a reward in the end, like going out in the community or going to the library. Then she might comply with the tasks that are being asked of her. Um, in regards to the waiver that I already mentioned, she did actually qualify for a waiver very recently. That is a EDCD waiver, which stands for the Elderly or Disabled with Consumer Direction Waiver. But unfortunately, this waiver, from what we've been able to tell, will not cover a day program and is more likely just to have an in-home healthcare nurse come and work with her in the home. So basically making sure she's doing the hygiene part, helping her, change her sheets and doing whatever else, which in my opinion really isn't what she needs. She really needs a day program. She needs support groups. She needs interaction with other individuals with disabilities. She needs to be doing fun activities. I mean, she does nothing. Um, Let me see if there was anything else I wanted to talk to. So as far as like her diagnoses, I absolutely agree with the autism. Most of my experience has been working with children with autism. She's the first adult that I've worked with, but absolutely agree with the autism. I do think she has OCD because she is always very particular about certain things in the house. She's very particular about going upstairs and doing one task and coming down, and she's always sitting in the same exact spot in her couch. She's very particular about looking in the mirror a certain amount of times, looking in the car window a certain amount of times before she can go somewhere. Light switches. So she definitely seems to have the obsessive compulsive disorder. I would say that she's depressed. And lastly, up for debate is the schizophrenia. Like I said, on our agency's view, she does not have schizophrenia, but she is seeing the psychiatrist, and I know she is getting a medication for schizophrenia effect. Um, so basically, what I've learned through working with her that there's like not many resources for adults with disabilities when a family member is not willing to pay for the services and they do not have an ED waiver. So really, I'm just looking for any advice on if there's anything out there that any of you know about, anything that you would recommend. I did want to mention that obviously when I first started working with her, I was very concerned for her being alone all day and just the living situation and everything that I had heard from the co-counselor about her mom. All of these concerns between myself and my co-counselor have been expressed to the CSB. There's not an open case as far as elderly abuse, um, but it is something that we're always consulting with our supervisor about when something might happen. Um, so basically, what would you recommend for myself or my agency to do with her? And just any thoughts you have on this case. Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry this was kind of long, and sorry you had to see my basement because I got kicked out after my kids are upstairs. Thanks.